Sometimes with some specific conditional clauses, if you want to draw attention to that specific part of a message, to the idea that it is a condition, you may use inversions to stress that part of a message, to emphasize that particular bit of the sentence. In this video, we're going to analyze when you can do it, how you can do it, and to what effects. These inversions for emphasis can be used only in some specific cases. With the first conditional, they can be used whenever you find should in the if part of a sentence. With the second conditional, they can be used only if you have were in the sentence. And with the third conditional, they can be used much more frequently because there's always going to be a third conditional. So whenever you find had, you can make this inversion. What we're going to do is in the conditional clause, we're going to remove if, this linking word, and then instead of having subject and verb, we're going to use this to make this inversion as if this was a question. But as I said, it is only possible when you have should, were, or had. If any other verbs are present in the if clause, then the inversion cannot be carried out. Imagine, for example, I'm talking to you about the TV show Bridgerton. I can tell you, if you watch Bridgerton, something will happen. If you watch Bridgerton, you will like this and that. If I'm not sure that you're watching Bridgerton, if it is a remote possibility, or perhaps if I mean to say, if you happen to watch Bridgerton, if you by any chance watch Bridgerton, if you mean to say that, you could say, if you should watch Bridgerton. So when you use this first conditional with should, the idea you're conveying is that if you by any chance watch Bridgerton, okay? The same would happen here. If instead of saying, if you have any further questions, you say, if you should have any further questions, you're saying, if by any chance you have any further questions. Or if I tell you, if you see him, tell him that I'm looking for him, for example. So if instead of saying, if you see him, I say, if you should see him, it could be as if I told you, if you happen to see him, or if you see him by any chance. I think this is not very likely, but if you happen to see him, if you see him by any chance, if you should see him, all these three sentences mean basically the same. So, if you happen to find these first conditional sentences with should, this is essential, what you can do is, instead of using this particular structure, you could say, should they show symptoms? That is, we are going to get rid of if, and then we're making the same inversion that we would make if we had a question here. For example, for number 2, instead of saying, if you watch Bridgerton, as we said before, okay, we're going to get rid of the linking word And then we're going to use this as if this was a question. So we could say, if you should watch Bridgerton, or should you watch Bridgerton? Or for example, for number 3, if we think this is a remote possibility somehow, we could say, if you should ever try and undermine me. We could say this if we want to draw specific attention to the idea of a condition. What we could say, we could get rid of this and then make the inversion. Should you try and undermine me? Or should you attempt to threaten my position again, I'll be forced to accept your call to arms. In number 4, if we concentrate on the conditional clause, we could say, if the disease continues to spread, we could say, if the disease should continue to spread. So if we want to make this, if we want to turn this into an inversion to emphasize this part of a sentence, we could get rid of this and then say, should the disease continue to spread. For number 5, which is a sentence taken from The Crown, an episode of The Crown. So you could say, if you ever get tired, if you should ever get tired, you could say as well. So now we're going to forget about this and then make the inversion. Should you ever get tired of your colorless and empty life, I suggest, etc. With second conditional clauses, this inversion can be carried out provided that the verb to be in the past and just this form were is present. This is the only possible form which can be used with an inversion. Otherwise, you can't use it. So, for example, if you have a look at number 7, you could say, if she were another kind of person, so we would make the exact same inversion as we did before. We get rid of the linking word and then we turn this into a question somehow. We use the same structure as that of a question. Were she another kind of person, and then the rest remains exactly the same. In number 6, there is a very interesting expression with the verb to be. The verb be to do something. This comes from the TV show Criminal, and the suspect is being accused of having killed somebody, and he says, if I were to have killed anyone, it couldn't have been her. If he had killed somebody, he would have killed somebody else, not the victim. So, this is what he says, if I were to have killed anyone. He's speculating. So this could be a synonym of if I had wanted to have killed anyone, if I had meant to kill anyone. In any case, for our intents and purposes, we have the verb were here within a conditional clause. So we're going to omit if and then make the inversion. Were I to have killed anyone, with a third conditional, perhaps it's the easiest case because you need to have the verb had And because a third conditional clause needs a past perfect, you're always going to get this verb had. So to make this inversion, we omit if and then we make the inversion as if this was a question with the same structure of a question. Had they acted sooner, they could have done more to make the system fairer. For number 9, we omit if. Had Theresa May sought compromise much earlier, her time in Downing Street could have not ended in such failure. Or for number 10, we omit if. Had the device exploded, and the meaning in all three cases is the same as the neutral or the normal sentence, but of course we're drawing attention to this condition even more than in the neutral sentence. So remember, these inversions with conditional clauses can only happen and only if you have should in a first conditional clause, were in a second conditional clause, or had in a third conditional clause. Otherwise, you can't carry out these inversions. Please click on the link or scan the QR code if you want to watch different clips and listen to different radio extracts which illustrate all these points. And most of the sentences have actually been taken from real sources, which you can find there.